Okay. No problem.
And here we are back with another episode of Awesome Stuff Badly, being even more awesome and even more badly. We are talking with my friend Miss Whitney on Google Plus. Say hello, Miss Whitney.
Hello, I hope you can hear me. Hi.
Yes, I have no idea whether we're going to be able to record her because I'm talking to her via a Google Hangout, and I'm talking to the rest of you via a Twitch TV stream. And in theory, because she's not sending a whole lot to me, and I'm just sending audio to her, this shouldn't screw up the bandwidth. And this way, the stream is at least captured on Twitch's servers rather than me having to upload it afterwards. It'll be amusing to see what actually comes out with all these different crossings of the streams. But enough fighting with Google+. Let's go back to fighting with reactive SVG. So when last we left our heroes, we had hacked our set SVG prop thingamajobber to no longer crash our test setup, which was awesome. And now we still get the elt is thing dying. And elt is something that's being called in our test suite here. Okay, still with me, Whitney?
Still with you.
Okay, one question I had was, what was set prop? Okay, that is actually a wrapper around jQuery. So that was why we were getting problems, and this is where it's confusing for me, because in our little JS fiddle over here, we can get back to our non-social networking window tabs. Not that one, this one here. Down. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the SVG fiddle, which proof by observation, it is actually working. The element that's being created here is an actual SVG element, not a jQuery element, but it sure looks like the set props are behaving correctly here. And
One thing I noticed, Dr.
Yes.
Is your use of set attribute
Mm-hmm.
method,
Yes.
set prop, but within the code, it looks like set prop was still using just the adder method. Is that a difference in jQuery version that we're looking at?
That is a really great question. So, yeah. And do I even know what version of jQuery I'm using for my tests here? So let's see, how would we figure that out? Would that be in the JSON Bower file? Reactive-coffee, jQuery 1.x. Interesting. Let's see, what are the actual versions of things here? These are the node dependencies. It's Karma and Grunt. These are the Karma testing dependencies. Let's just do back to jQuery. jQuery, lowercase, find all. So it's saying it'll accept any version of jQuery, but the version of jQuery that it's running and testing against is 1.11, which is really old.
Yeah.
But has the advantage of working with those tests here. So if I rerun my fiddle 111.1, external resources for jQuery, no. So 1.11.1, let's just update this and make sure we're not. So it seems perfectly happy with me doing that set prop thing there. line is that? And when I do the same thing myself, let's bring up the web inspector in Safari, the developer menu, and where's that line? Okay, tag equals rect. Element should equal that. Yes. There's no element there. Element. So then set prop. Set prop was a. Oh, do I define? Oh, I know why. Set prop is defined here.
Yeah.
So it manually sets that as just the really simplest, and it uses the. Aha! It uses the DOM's set attribute.
Yeah.
Rather than all the jQuery stuff, so it's independent of all the jQuery madness. So that is, in fact, what this guy was doing. So that actually is a good sign. What it's telling me is that if they ignore jQuery and do SVG manually, they seem to be okay. All right, great question. We learned something. And let's get back to our failing test here. So that would explain why the contents and attr things are dying on me, is that we don't have a jQuery object. And they didn't figure out a way to implement this as a jQuery object, which means that we probably are going to have to brute force it ourselves as well.
Okay.
So let's just take it one step at a time here. So does that imply that this auto sub contents business, that all these things are going to break for us? Well, let's actually just walk through our tests one by one, since we actually have. So elt is rect is a failing test because the is thing is not. Okay, so let's just get rid of this and see if we can get this to just be an SVG rect element. And okay, what's actually changed since we last committed? Just that. Just test. Test. Grunt. Karma unit. And 2 failures! Yes! We actually passed a test. Extraordinary. Okay. Then we have the same problem here in that because it's not an attr, we can't do it that way. So that's presumably going to be the DOM element, which is something like get attribute. Doesn't look like it's spelled right. Woohoo!
Okay.
And then the last one is this contents. Which it is also, yeah. Let's go back and see what is jQuery doing there. What is the DOM equivalent? Do we have that on Windows? Yes, we do. Let's repeat some of these things because I'm confusing myself. Keep those there. jQuery contents. Let's just see what defines this here. Contents. Okay, what this does is filters it for nodes, holds a numeric code. Children of each. Okay, so what we actually want to do is get children, I guess. Okay, let's see what here there is. Child nodes. Let's try it and see if it works. Okay. Oh, last is probably not. Let's just say this is only one. Okay. So that cont there we don't have, so let's what is the element there that's created? Okay. Has length. Oh, child knows it has to have a bracket. Should be able to say it's just the length. So let's try. So we wanted to do expect. Yeah. Kids.length to be 1. Expect kids.0. Oh, of course, this is going to fail because don't do that, but we should at least have this full. Child contents failed. Kids, kids. Yes. The kids is undefined, so even the child knows enough. But in fact, that could actually be valid because we removed the child nodes when we were doing that. So now we run it with children. So with children. Okay. It's failing somewhere in the interesting code over here. In particular, okay, so this part we're good. This part we're good. This part we're good. This is where things get awkward in that we do not have actual yeah, so it has to define all these things here and redo them because let's see. Well, this is the question. How much, if any of this, can we possibly reuse? So auto sub looks pretty innocuous. You would think that that would work. Yeah. And then one thing where we could test that is look at set prop here. Set dyn prop, which is this guy there, and SVG prop here. What if we did that instead?
Rx. Now, are we going to run into the same scoping issues that we did previously when trying to log a property of Rx?
If we're not logging it, I think if we're just using it directly, it should scope properly. I think it was the thing. That's a good hypothesis. Let's see. And then this would be just n, since we're using the identity. Let's try it and see what happens. Okay, what's up there? Okay, let's just check it. Did I break it just by removing my console log statements? Wouldn't be the first time. Reset it then. Yes, okay. No, now we're back to having 3 errors here. Oh, right, because we changed we added back our children, and now it's getting upset. So, okay. Breathe, I'm getting confused. Let's make sure we understand what we're doing here. We edited our tests to change this. Let me make sure that we didn't break anything else. We know what... Right, so without the children, the testing for children fails, but everything else runs. Wait, no. That's even more confusing. Probably just the vacuum. Okay. SVG, vision should have something failed. And nodes, okay. Why is because we didn't. Oh, that was the tag, not the SVG tag I was messing with. Okay. Okay. Didn't like that. Okay, back to the one failure. Status. Known failure mode. Right.
And with the kids are undefined, or children is undefined.
Kids.length. So the thing that's where we're getting our child nodes is causing the problem because there are no child nodes.
Right.
So
okay.
When we add the child nodes, then we get in all these problems where the code that adds them is here.
Okay.
And right, it's just this element.contents thing, which is let's see if we can find a relationship between jQuery contents versus children. Right. Child nodes. Right. The children is also that child nodes is the there we go. Okay, so the issue is that the child nodes returns actual nodes versus children. So I guess we do have to go back to the DOM. Wait, let's just do child nodes and children. Okay, here we go. Property of an element. Only elements have children, so not all of type element. I think we actually want children then, because we don't care about, well, actually we probably do care about child nodes. In fact, I bet you that's what this guy's doing. Let's see. Right. So let's just walk through this one step at a time. And okay, so where are we? What was our last git commit? Okay, we're in no failure mode. Okay, I think what we want to do. Let's talk about this. Okay, we have one failing test, which is failing because we don't even give it a test case. But when we run the test case, we know that everything fails because it doesn't know how to build SVG children. We have a working implementation in the JS fiddle, which uses direct DOM manipulation rather than jQuery stuff. And one option is to just paste it in directly and hope it all works. The other is to try and understand what's different between that and the existing implementation in case there's something interesting and or simpler that could be done. So what I want to do first is actually look and see what the existing implementations of two nodes are versus the one in our SVG fiddle. So this one defines two nodes, which if it's a string creates it, and if it's an element it creates it. It creates a text node. So this two nodes operation here looks like a superset of the one we have in our SVG fiddle. Right, it's basically .demo creates node, returns a child, and those other things that we don't handle. I think I may have patched it to check for SVG element along the way. So I don't think we need to override two nodes. The update contents here is probably it uses two nodes, uses append. Let's see. So it's creating a list of nodes. It's false. Means it never does this stuff here, right?
The superstar.
So it looks like the contents basically just calls two nodes and appends, whereas here update contents is it's an array, it appends a child. It could be because, let's see, can you do a .javascript append? Okay, that's the problem, is that okay, so we can't use update contents precisely because of the append problem.
Okay.
And so the options are, we change that to work directly I think, in fact, that actually probably was where we died, right? Was on the append call.
Yeah. Yeah, this is an update contents.
Yeah. So if we change that to, oh no, but that's going to be a multiplying append. That's not a concatenating array. That's a array we're appending to a node. Append child. Is that what this guy's using? Yes. So we have a choice. We could try to just change this to do that. At least that's commented in there as a possible option.
Change what? The 2 nodes?
So this is what the SVG version was doing. This is the non-jQuery version, is where it basically just takes all the nodes and appends them one at a time.
Okay.
And that might let us actually run this here. It does mean we're changing this path for everything. So if his tests aren't good, it could break something. But let's at least try it and see if it works. Yeah, it breaks everything. So then the other option is to do the same hack we did before. So one is we recreate the whole thing ourselves using the SVG version. The other is we try and do a clever switch. And given our past track record, I suspect that the clever switch is unlikely to work, in which case our best option is to just go ahead and rewrite this as update SVG contents. So extremely changes, but on the upside we are actually sort of learning to understand the code one line at a time, which I guess if we had started we would have actually understood it by just reading it through. But so I don't know if this is probably less efficient, though in some ways it's more interesting because it's just-in-time learning. Maybe next time we'll try and do it the smart way rather than the brute force way. Is that the right indentation? Should be this, shouldn't it?